Hi everyone, welcome to Gossiping Games. I'm Trey Baird, and today we're going to be playing Super Mario Bros. 2, the US version. And we're going to be discussing the thing that's on everyone's mind right now, the death of Carrie Fisher, aka Princess Leia. It is garbled. I'm just gonna roll with it. Might make for entertainment purposes. And we're off to a fantastic start. I wasn't really raised on Star Wars. I got into it a little bit later than most people did. Let's see. I got into it around the time that Shadows of the Empire came out on N64 because I was a Nintendo fan first and foremost. And the fact that Nintendo came out with such a obviously brilliant Star Wars game, you know, I wasn't a fan of Star Wars, but I could tell that it was well done at the time, you know, just because I was smart enough to be able to see things like that. So I got the game because it looked awesome, and that got me into the movies, and I was like, you know, where have these movies been in my life? These are amazing, especially Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back is actually my third favorite movie of all time. Yes, this is actually something that I do. I rank things because I just have a curiosity about how I would rank certain things. And I came to the realization that, well, I already knew this, but Lady and the Tramp was my favorite movie of all time. But everything after that was kind of a surprise. Number 2 was Inglourious Basterds, and I always thought, oh, it's begun, look at that. Haha. I always thought that I would rank Pulp Fiction ahead of Inglourious Basterds, but when I really sat down and thought about it, not only did I rank Inglourious Basterds higher on the list, but several spots higher on the list. Pulp Fiction ended up being, I think, number 8 out of, you know, the top 9, you know, because that's just a weird thing I do. I like to make top 9 lists as opposed to top 10 lists. At any rate, you know, I've always, ever since then, you know, that was, what, 1996, 97? I would have been 12 or 13. So, yeah, that is kind of late to get into Star Wars. And who knows, I probably would have liked it even more if I'd gotten into it as a kid, because it is the type of thing that I would have enjoyed. See, I was just never into science fiction as a kid. I thought that it was, I don't know what word to use, pretentious for lack of a better word. It was something that, you know, pretentious people liked, and I guess my main exposure had been Star Trek up until that point. Even though as an adult I can appreciate Star Trek a lot more than I could have as a kid, there's something about the whole Star Wars mythology thing and the way that George Lucas used so many myths and so many, you know, tropes, storytelling tropes, fantasy tropes. And if not done properly, it would have been, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been really bad, but it was done properly. And there's especially something about that first movie that really connects with people, and it's a really great movie. And it's the only Star Wars, you know, movie in the entire lineup aside from Rogue One that stands on its own, the original Star Wars. The other movies kind of, I mean, I suppose The Phantom Menace stands on its own, but it kind of doesn't, because if you haven't seen the original trilogy, you're not going to find anything that happens in The Phantom Menace to be interesting whatsoever, except for maybe the duel at the end. But, you know, I don't think that any action scene can save a bad movie, and The Phantom Menace is definitely a bad movie. Any rate, I'm kind of getting off topic here, you know, but I mean, I'm also not, because the idea here is to remember Carrie Fisher, and you know, Princess Leia was a character that made it cool to be an empowered female in today's society. Like, Star Wars came out in 77, and 1977 compared to 2016 or 2017 is we're a lot more progressive than we used to be, and just the way Princess Leia was portrayed is just this badass, female character, and not even really sexualized either until Return of the Jedi. But even then, that was interesting the way they do it, because she was sexualized against her will. And even then, it's just as if, like, she doesn't really care that much about being objectified, because she has something that she believes in is worth fighting for, and that's more important than, her being given the respect she needs as a woman or whatever. Princess Leia did what she did because it was the right thing to do, and because she was on the right side of history. There weren't any selfish reasons for the things she did. Going so far as to almost denying herself romance, if it weren't for the fact that Han Solo was just too stubborn to be denied. And that storyline is one of the reasons I love Empire Strikes Back so much. I love the chemistry that Han Solo and Princess Leia had, which apparently was most likely due to the fact that, recent revelations have shown that they were having an affair in real life around that time period, either during Star Wars or during Empire. I can't remember who I want here. I think I want Toad. It just gets worse. Oh man, now it's getting really bad. I forgot how bad Toad is at jumping. Let's go right here. I forget where I need to go with this one. Oh no. Should have gone up there. Oh well. But, as an adult, I'm not exactly the touchy-feely type of, person. But there are a few movies that make me cry every time I watch them, and Empire Strikes Back is one of those movies. And it's not because I find the events in it sad or whatever, it's just the connections, especially between Han Solo and Princess Leia, that really get to me on a deep level. Their romance touches a chord with me that I have trouble putting into words. It's just that, true love isn't always like something out of a fairy tale. This isn't the type of person that, she was expecting to fall for. Not even close. He was, by, her admission, a scoundrel. You can tell you played this game a lot when you can still function even though it's, glitching out. And I'm sorry. I decided to just roll with it. It might make things a little bit more entertaining. But like I said, there's just something about that romance that really, got to me on a deep level. And it's just, her refusal in no uncertain terms of his advances, and him being able to see right through that. It's like her mouth was saying no, but her body was saying yes. And I don't mean to, that sounds a lot more sleazy than I meant for it to, but I don't mean it in a sleazy way. I mean, true love is such a person who understands you so well that even when they're trying to deprive themselves of something that they want deep down, you can see that they're doing that. So, Princess Leia finally realizes that Han Solo, this might be her last chance to tell Han that she loves him, and his response is, "I know." That's just brilliant. That's so good. It's something that George Lucas couldn't even write. That was an ad-lib by Harrison Ford, and it's just perfect. He doesn't care that, she spent the whole time rejecting him. all he cares is that he got to spend all this time with her, you know, and he enjoys it just like that. He has no regrets, even though she does. So he's just like, I know, you know. And, you know, it's not just that moment of the movie that I love. It's just, that's a perfect representation of why I love the movie. And, you know, if you don't understand why that scene is... I thought I could walk under him if I was small. Oh well. If you don't understand why that scene is so poignant, then that's sort of my best explanation as to why. But if it doesn't mean anything to you, then it doesn't mean anything to you. But if it doesn't mean anything to you, then it doesn't mean anything to you. I'm a little bit eccentric in a lot of the things that I'm into are a little bit out of left field. As I said earlier, my favorite movie is Lady and Tramp. I mean, who says that? That's not like a 6-year-old or something. And the reasons that I like Empire Strikes Back might be different. I'm going to pretend I didn't do that. Anyway, the reasons that I like Empire Strikes Back might be different from the reasons that other people like it. So yeah, those are my general feelings about Carrie Fisher. I'm really sad. I mean, that and the fact that... Okay. Call that a Freudian slip. When you accidentally say or do something that maybe reveals more about what's going on inside of your subconscious, maybe I don't want to enter the other world and collect coins. Maybe I'm preventing myself and, you know, sabotaging myself. It would certainly appear that way. At any rate, my other thought about Carrie Fisher passing away, you know, is that now we won't be able to see her in Star Wars Episode 9. And I think that's tragic because I kind of had a feeling that they were going to do something really cool with her. Because they were kind of hinting at it in Episode 7 that she was still Force sensitive, because when Han Solo dies, she's aware of it. She doesn't need to be told. So she still has a connection with the Force. And maybe reuniting with Luke, there's all kinds of different directions they could have taken that. Maybe, you know, Han dying might have pushed her over the edge into really going after that Force training and really becoming, maybe not a Jedi, but someone who uses the Force. And now we may not get the real story that, you know, we were building up to. That's, you know, the other thought that I have, you know, as far as this goes. I just think the whole thing is sad. It appears that what happened was, she had a heart attack on an airplane and went brain dead for a certain amount of time. And you can only be brain dead for about, well, let me make sure I'm getting my terminology right. When maybe not brain dead, but losing oxygen to your brain, you can only handle that for 3 minutes or so before you start to have serious irreparable damage. And she was apparently wasn't getting any oxygen to her brain for something like up to 10 minutes. So the speculation is that, you know, she was basically the shell of who she was after that, and they just waited until after Christmas to cut off life support, which must have been really hard on the entire family, because a day later her mother, Debbie Reynolds, passed away. And that's just about the saddest thing I've heard in a long time. I really have nothing to add to that. Sometimes life is ugly, and this is one of those times. All I can really say is, you know, thank you, Carrie Fisher, for all of your contributions to society, artistic and otherwise. Let's try to remember her for the life she lived. instead of the tragedy of her passing.